Beautiful Sunday evening. Welcome to the Jacobson Report. John Jacobson here with Sean Revis on KOFO 1220, 103.7 FM. We've got a special program tonight with a thank you to Jim and Cindy Jandrin for liferunners.org. Go to liferunners.org and get your t-shirt and run and walk for life. Help those expectant mothers and babies along the way. And also, thanks to them at Midwest Renewable Energy, LLC. Renewable fuels, it's lean, it's clean, and it's green. Energy for a strong America via ethanol. But what a beautiful, sultry, hot Kansas, East Central Plains summer day it is. You know, Thomas, the lovely and gracious Deborah and I were out walking, and it was really, really warm even when we went on campus this morning. What are those practices like for you? 6'4", 300 in the sultry heat of the Ottawa campus? That's got to be brutal on that artificial turf.
It does get pretty hot out there. The turf will get very hot, and you gotta make sure to stay hydrated is the biggest thing, honestly, that I've learned. And the pads definitely don't help, but we practice early in the morning, so that's the best thing. Is so it's still kind of cool, and we're not in pads right now, but in the fall when we're in the daytime and we're practicing, those pads get pretty hot in August.
So many of you guys are working jobs along with your full-time academic calendar. How early do you guys practice? What time in the mornings?
Right now, we are practicing. We get up at about 7 in the morning, and we'll practice then. Now, in the fall, I'm not sure what we're going to do right now, because with this new strength coach, I don't know what his workout plan will be for times, but we typically practice in the afternoon in the fall.
Well, Thomas, you're coming back from a great injury. We're so delighted that you're going to be at full steam. So who are they going to find to run the drones during practice now that you're healthy again? They got to find a new drone meister.
You know, I hope they find someone. We have some other injured guys that'll be able to do it pretty great.
Hey, Coach, speaking of injuries and comebacks, Caitlin Clark brings the ratings and the attendance back, as well as some lights out. Recap what Kate did last night for the Fever.
Yes, the Indiana Fever are now 5-5. Caitlin Clark came back, John, after a 2-week layoff, rehabbing a quad injury. She had 32 points, 7 for 14 from 3, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, almost had a quadruple-double in a 102-88 win. She's getting a lot of positive press as I scour the internet, and the numbers will be back in WNBA, at least for the Indiana Fever games.
This is true. And, Coach, you're just back from Hawaii. Congratulations on your 50th wedding anniversary celebration. And Hawaii, where you coached for a time. Any nostalgia on your return trip to Hawaii? Did you see where Jack Lord stood out on the balcony during the opening of the original Hawaii Five-0 show in the 60s with the great soundtrack there, you know? Did you see where Elvis was spinning out there in Paradise Hawaiian style or Blue Hawaii?
No, but it is Blue Hawaii, John. The water is unbelievably blue. But when you talk about Hawaii 5-0, the song Wipeout, which is a famous song in that series, and they used to play that every halftime with the University of Hawaii Wahine dancers. An unbelievable show when they played Wipeout. We had a tremendous time. Got together with dear friends, a couple that we got very friendly with. And of course, as you said, we celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary.
Well, congratulations, Coach. And, Coach, remind our folks here, you're still active. You're still a big shot at New Mexico State University, the $1 million fundraiser for the development department there on campus. But also, Coach, you're a veteran coach from New Mexico State, and you're still not only doing ESPN women's basketball broadcasts on television, but you've got a podcast. Remind our listeners in the KC area here where they can listen to your podcast.
Well, we have another great guest this past week on Play-by-Play with my partner who's sung that you get your podcast for iHeart, etc. Wendy Larry, Hall of Fame women's basketball coach, Old Dominion great. Wendy suffers from Parkinson's disease and raises 2 grandchildren, and we reminisce about her career as well as struggles today, but overcoming those struggles.
Awesome.
So it's a great podcast.
Awesome, guys. Yeah. Play-by-play, Coach Patrick J. Knapp Jr. and Jerry Busson. Coach, let's talk about the U.S. Open golf. Thomas, now you're an Oklahoma kid, and, you know, you would make John Daly look kind of puny, I think. And I know your living habits are much better than John Daly's. I don't see you smoking, drinking 6 packs of Coke, chomping on McDonald's. You know, you're under a much stricter regimen. But, Coach, update us. You know, we're right in the heart. This program is tape delayed by a few hours. But your thoughts and surmisals at on the last round of the great U.S. Open Golf Championship. We're into the midst of the final round as you see it right now. What does it look like to you in this horse race?
Well, I just turned away from the TV to do our broadcast, John, and Sam Burns leads at -2, Adam Scott at -1, Victor Hovland at even. They seem to be the 3-horse race that we'll be looking at. Would be 4th. J.J. Spawn has truly blown up here in the early rounds, the top 3 the entire tournament. You know, the course at Oakmont, it's not exceptionally long. It has unbelievably difficult rough, the first cut and the second cut. You've got to get it on the fairway. Obviously, you've got to get it on the green, or you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And some of the best players in the game blew up earlier this week. DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, and others have just evaporated. John Rahm is still around, but not doing well. Scotty Scheffler's tied for 11th. Rahm tied for 8th. Xander Schauffele tied for 19th. Koepka tied for 24th. So it's Sam Burns and Adam Scott with maybe Victor Hovland racing to the finish line today. But anybody could blow up with the way this course is laid out.
You know, I have so many fond memories, Thomas, of the U.S. Open, some great duels back in the day. I remember, I think it was 1972. I could be a year or two off, but I'm pretty close. 1972, when Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino tied in regulation, when that great 18-hole playoff the next day on Monday. And Lee Trevino endearing himself to America with his great sense of humor and a really loose affability. And to this day, Thomas, Lee Trevino's making videos. He's all over social media. He and Gary Player, you want to talk about guys in their 80s that are still in great shape that can swat the heck out of the golf ball. It's incredible watching Player and Trevino make these shots, Thomas, in their 80s. I mean, Thomas, what do you think of us old guys? I mean, I'm not quite in that zone, but, you know, those were my childhood heroes growing up. They're still doing it in their 80s. That gives all of us hope, doesn't it?
Yeah, that definitely does. Now, you know, that's a little bit older for me, you know, where I grew up seeing some John Daly and a lot of Tiger Woods for golf. For me, a little bit of age difference there if you can't tell, but that is truly amazing to see them be able to hit like that when they're up in that age, and that can be, you know, take some stress off of getting old, maybe, besides retirement.
Yeah, Nicklaus really has kind of given up on playing competitive golf, and Jack, frankly, is now very, very overweight and out of shape, whereas Gary Player at almost 90, did you see his calisthenics routine, Coach Knapp, that Gary Player does? He's an animal.
No, he's unbelievable, and he does some great political commentary as well.
He does. And Trevino, stocky as always. Lee Trevino's always stocky, but you know what? He carries it well, and the guy's motor skills, he is crushing the ball and making some great shots, Coach Knapp, and his humor and his wit entirely intact, and he regales with stories that I hope someone's got the tape recorder on constantly, because his anecdotes are just for the world, I'm telling you, Coach.
Yeah, he's classic. There's no doubt about that. John, I remember the 1974 U.S. Open, Wingfoot outside of Manhattan.
Oh,
Johnny Miller
yes.
shot a 63.
Yes, a 63 on that final round.
Yeah, he was. His name was all over Sears and the golf paraphernalia.
Oh, he had those
for
bell-bottom
decades after that.
plaid trousers. That was big back then. We all have to admit what the fashion styles were in the day, and turtlenecks. And he was the blonde, the bleached blonde kid from Utah. And my goodness, he was on the cover of my Boys Life magazine when I was in Boy Scouts. He and Bobby Orr, we always had some great athletes. Sonny Six Killer, the great Native American quarterback from Washington.
Oh, God, yeah.
So my Boys Life magazine as a Boy Scout got me all squared away with sports stuff. I didn't convert over to the Sports Illustrated swim issue till a few years after that. And of course, I had a friend at Creighton who went to one of the. We all went to Catholic schools, but he went to Catholic school up in northwest Iowa, and I think he had a stricter brand up there because in their library at their Catholic school there, the sister that was in charge of the library would cut out the pictures of the girls in the swimsuit from the magazine. And I'm proud to say that where I grew up, no one was cutting the photos out of those young ladies. And so I had early appreciations for Christy Brinkley and Paulina Poroskova and all of those great Americans, Coach.
Yeah, by the way, correction, Johnny Miller shot that 63 at Oakmont.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right, Coach. Miller, one of the greatest finishes ever in the history of majors. And I can remember some U.S. Opens at Marion Country Club where the greens were so fast that guys were putting off the green, where putting a 4-foot putt might roll off the green. And there were a couple of U.S. Opens where no one was under par at all. So golf is a tough game. And let's shift real quickly too, Thomas. I know you're interested. We've got NBA going on right now. Coach, you're the king of basketball. Rack it up for us. NBA playoffs.
I tell you, John, obviously not big markets, not extensive markets,
right.
Oklahoma City and Indiana, but I believe this has been a fun NBA final.
Yeah.
Very competitive. Two young teams, realistically, that are going at it. There have been two very, very unlikely victories. The first one, when Indiana won with a late charge at OKC.
Yes.
And then this game 4 at Indiana,
yes,
when OKC was down 10 with like 6 minutes to go, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP of the league, scored 15 of his 35 points in the last 4.5 minutes to win. Oklahoma City had the simplest and most rudimentary of offenses. They screened up top for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, nickname SJC or SGA, and he just went to the basket or made pull-up jumpers. Indiana didn't do enough to double-team him or stop him. It's either SGA or Jalen Williams, who are the two best players who take most of the shots for Oklahoma City. But it was a charge at the end by OKC to beat Indiana, 111 to 104. We're now tied, and Game 5 goes to Oklahoma City, and it puts Indiana in a difficult spot.
It does, and our own Oklahoma City kid here, Thomas was grinning like a Cheshire cat listening to your narrative, Coach, and shooting phantom baskets. He's got a nice arc there in the radio studio, over the speaker and into the engineering deck there. Thomas, I can tell who you're rooting for. You agree with Coach? And
well, I'm from Ponca City, not Oklahoma City.
I
but
know,
I do
but
root
you're in
for
the
'em.
neighborhood. It's a homie for you. You know?
Yeah, it is, and it's being the only real professional team in Oklahoma. You really love to see it, and I completely agree with that charge. Oklahoma City, they run a very physical brand of basketball, especially on defense, and when nobody wants to get up and physical with.
Well, Thomas, if you're playing basketball, you would be the 3-point lane.
Yeah.
No one else could get in there. Go ahead.
But no, I think it is a great way that OKC does play basketball. If they get physical on defense and they charge the rim on offense and take open shots when they get them.
So, what's amazing, Thomas, is the loving, gracious Mrs. Jacobson really likes you, and that says a lot because she grew up with Sooner Magic vexing them for 30 straight years there under Switzer, ruining every Nebraska undefeated season for quite a run. And the fact that she likes anybody from Oklahoma is really astounding. You must be a good guy, Thomas.
Well, I am, even though I do like Oklahoma State, I do love to hear that Switzer beat up on Nebraska for her.
Coach, let's talk about Major League Baseball. The people love the Royals here, and now the Omaha folks are even grafted more in than ever because they did bring down our boy from Omaha at Werner Park there for the Storm Chasers. We're not at the All-Star break yet, but the Royals aren't terribly far off from where they were last year at this point in time, and then they made that great run and got to the playoffs. Coach, will their sticks pick up? They still got a shot. It's a very competitive division.
It is a very competitive division. Obviously, the Royals are 34-37. They lost 7 of their last 8, 21 of 31 since May 10th. They've lost their 9th series loss in their last 11 tries. So the sticks, correct, John, have not picked up. I was begging for Jack Caglianone to come up.
You were.
He is up in the majors.
You called it, Coach. You called
it. He's hitting 209 with 9 hits and no homers, so he needs to pick it up a little bit. Chris Bubich is pitching well, 5-4 with a 1.92 ERA. Carlos Estevez with 19 saves. The Royals had a team meeting after Saturday's game, so we'll see if they can pick things up, and we'll watch today's results as they come in. But I guess the highlight of the weekend was Alex Gordon being inducted into the Royals Hall of Fame. He's top 10 in several Royals hitting categories, and he is looked at as one of the heroes of that 2015 World Series team. So congrats to Alex Gordon.
Coach, I love that you brought that up because I saw Alex Gordon at the College World Series a quarter of a century ago. I can't believe I'm saying a quarter of a century ago. But
wow.
I was there. Wow. I was there with my kids, and that was the day that George W. Bush threw out the first pitch. President George W. Bush, post 9/11, was doing that in several major stadia, including Yankee Stadium, but also came out to Omaha. He threw a perfect pitch across home plate, I'll tell you, with the bulletproof vest on. But Alex Gordon, Coach, I remember back when I actually rooted for Creighton. I know this is probably a first confession here ever on radio, but I was rooting for Creighton back in 1983 when they played Nebraska at Omaha, and Turner Gill, the great Husker quarterback, of course, was also a wonderful baseball player for the Big Red. And actually, it might have been I think it was 83, that spring of 83, because we were heckling him at bat. We kept shouting, Penn State, Penn State, because that was the infamous year when Nebraska lost at Penn State on that phantom reception that Todd Blackledge threw about how many yards out of bounds off the sideline was that? It was a terrible call, I tell you. There were Husker T-shirts the next year that said Penn State football field, and it had a square with a jutting rectangle off to the side for where they ruled out a reception. Of course, that gave Penn State the win and ultimately the national title that year. Otherwise, the Huskers would have had that national title. That was the first game of the season in what they then called the Kickoff Classic. So, Thomas, what scares me is that we are as far removed away today in 2025 from my great 1982 Iowa seasons of those early Rose Bowls under Hayden Fry. And you're hearing me talk about those years. That's the same gap in years as I was in 1982, my senior year, where you are now, to the 1939 Iowa Ironman with Niall Kinnick, who wasn't even enlisted in World War II yet, winning the Heisman Trophy that year. So we must sound ancient to you, Thomas. But you love the history lesson?
It is a great history lesson. Now, the football stuff I do know a bit as a college football player, but yeah, hearing you talk about George Bush walking out and pitching the first pitch, I think my parents and they were dating then.
You're killing me, Smalls. Oh, Coach, we're long in the tooth here, I'm telling you. So, of course, when
That's
George
all right.
when George W. threw out that pitch, there were people in Omaha saying, I remember when his dad, George H.W. Bush, was playing for Yale at the College World Series at Rosenblatt Stadium. That was only 40 years, and change before that, which is what it was between when I was rooting for Bobby Dernier and the Cubs to today, that summer of 84, that's 41 years, and Bobby's in town doing the thing at Auburn University in our baseball conference there. Well, Thomas, we got about 5 minutes left with Coach. Thomas, I know you love your college football. You're going over your guys' schedule with me, home and away games, already plotting out strategy. What excites you about this college football season upcoming? And Thomas, are Kansas and K-State going to do a little bit better this year? They kind of both underperformed last year. Talk to me.
Well, yeah, KU, the biggest thing I'd say is they need to stay healthy, keep their starters healthy and appeased, and do that, and they have a really good team there. And then K-State, it's K-State. I still want Oklahoma State to beat all of them, though. I hold bias there. And then for Ottawa itself, it's very aspiring to see what we're doing as a team. And
now tell you guys were 1-10.
1-10
last year. So
yes.
You're going to be Mr. Sunshine here. You're going to convince Coach and me that you guys are going to be a 500 ball club this year. Give me the drill in a couple of minutes why you think that's going to happen.
We got a bunch of guys working, and we have the coaches are working too, especially, and we have a new strength staff that's coming in. And
so new strength staff is key. What about a new offensive playbook? Kind of, sort of, a different schematic?
We have a different schematic. I mean, as an offensive lineman, I like to say run the ball. And, we
Vince
got a
Lombardi would have loved you. You look just like Fuzzy Thurston and Jerry Kramer. If you guys could see this kid, he looks like, except he's got more teeth than Kramer and Thurston did. But Vince Lombardi would love this kid. Go ahead, Thomas.
We got a new offensive line coach and a few other coaches that have, and we've kept our core coaching staff with Coach Davis and Coach Anderson.
Okay,
too.
now let's cut the chase. Quarterback was a problem last year. How we gonna? So there's a change in quarterback. The other quarterback graduated and is off to success playing ball in Europe, I think.
Yes, he is. He's been doing good over there.
But it wasn't gelling completely last year at QB. Yeah. So what's the quarterback situation look like? That's the pivot for you guys, I think.
We have a good young quarterback, and then we have several good quarterbacks in general. Honestly, it's going to be a good shootouts type deal to get a good starting quarterback into play there between the transfer that we've got that's come in, and then also with our young guys that we've got. It'll be good to see with them, and the offensive line, I felt we did really good last year protecting, but we're going to do even better this year, I believe. This O-line will.
So, Coach, their coaches probably weren't even around with that great 1985 Chicago Bears Super Bowl team. But, Coach, I'm just saying, Thomas Sober, 6'4", 300. Don't you think I should suggest to Coach a William the Refrigerator Perry handoff for a 2-point conversion, or a reception in the end zone for a 2-point conversion? If 340-pound William the Refrigerator Perry could do it, don't you think that would be a great play to add to the Ottawa Braves playbook, Coach Knapp?
Absolutely, Thomas. John is the best person to get into your coach's head and get that play in the playbook.
I've been talking to Coach trying to get me some sort of play to let me have the ball, but he won't let me do it.
Yeah, you're pretty quick, though, too.
John can take it the rest of the way.
I might have to have him do that just so I can get the ball in there.
Thomas, how fast are you? You're considered to be fast for your weight and height. Yeah,
I'm pretty quick for a big guy. I can move around a little bit.
So that ballroom dancing, all that country western dancing, right? So,
yeah, that's what you could say. You could say that. That and wrestling. Wrestling was the biggest thing for footwork that any football player or athlete could ever do.
Did you ever have to punch a few cows there out on the range? You look like they would not survive if you went head to head with them.
Oh my God!
No, I've never had to punch them.
So, Coach, tease us a little bit as we wrap up the show here. College football. Anyone you're looking at nationwide who could really break out? We're in a totally new world. It's a crapshoot, a roll of the dice with NIL and portals. But anybody that you're hearing footsteps about?
Well, I'm going to get my Phil Steele College Football Bible this week.
All right.
In the mail, I was notified, and so I'll have a better handle on that. John, I think it's the regulars, the normal behemoths of the sport that will be at the top of it again. But let's tune in next week for an underdog prediction. But let me say this, John, it is Father's Day, and we all have great memories of Father's Day.
We do, Coach.
And as I was watching the Philadelphia Phillies today, I remember June 21st, 1964.
Wow.
Jim Bunning pitched a perfect game against the New York Mets, and I watched it in the living room with my dad. Most Father's Days, my dad was out coaching baseball,
Wow.
but this day he was not. And that was a great memory and a celebration after he took out the last player for the Mets. And again, 9-inning perfect game, Jim Bunning in 1964 Father's Day.
What great memories, Coach. And Father's Day, so much links fathers and sons in the athletic arena. Thomas, don't you agree that that's a father-son thing? We bond with our dads over athletics, if not participatory, still as viewers, as common fans together. I know my dad and I, going to Iowa football games, even when I was in law school, I brought him in on my guest pass, and we froze out there watching Big Ten football, but man, it was great. And the same thing with the at Carver Hawkeye for the great wrestling matches between Oklahoma and Iowa and Penn State, and those great duels with 15,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs, watching great golf and playing great golf with my dad, playing in father-son tournaments with my dad. Fathers and sons in sports is a big deal. Dads need to go into their backyards and have a game of catch, like is so memorialized so poignantly and so beautifully with great nostalgia in the movie Field of Dreams.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when my dad, he still comes to my games, and he used to be my coach for football too. He taught me a lot over that, and he would take us to Oklahoma State games or Thunder games, and we would go and watch sports, and he would coach me a lot on that. And it's a very important thing to have as an athlete growing up, I believe, and it can help kind of start your development as an athlete, and it's very important to have that.
I can remember doing some canoeing on the Iowa River with my father during Scouts, and how arduous that was for a 10-year-old to be with an oar in the water pulling that hard for that long. But I thought, this guy was a Marine in Korea. I better keep paddling, So time to build some men with chests here, So, Coach, we are so glad you're back safely from our great 50th state of Hawaii. Is Hawaii still a great place to go, Coach?
Absolutely, John. We were in Kauai, the Garden Island, and in Honolulu on Oahu, and we've been to the Big Island as well. Haven't been to Maui yet. The terrible fires kind of canceled that trip a couple years ago. I hear they're not back yet. I recommend it to everyone, particularly west of the Mississippi. It's a much easier flight than you think, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Well, I got to say this because I'm very bipartisan. Barack Obama agrees. He chose to be born in Hawaii rather than Kenya.
So they say.
My engineer is hanging his head and just shaking it back and forth. Well, guys, this has been a great adventure. Happy Father's Day to everybody. I've never seen my engineer laughing out loud for this long of a period of time. Good liberal that he is. So, Sean Torres today in for Blake Griffin. Blake is visiting his family this Father's Day, and if he can beat back the Seattle riots and get out of the Seattle airport safely, we might even see him again next week here back at his post. In the meantime, go to KOFO.com where Sean Torres is putting this podcast up. Go to Coaches Play-by-Play on a podcast near you with Jerry Busson. And in the meantime, Thomas, thanks for hanging with us. We're going to have you back for more. Guys, be safe, be strong, be good, be smart. If your dad is still around, thank your dad and hug your dad. And love Jesus Christ And it's this wonderful Feast of the Holy Trinity today. God bless us, everyone. Thanks again to Jim and Cindy Jandard for sponsoring us at Life Runners. Go to liferunners.org. Get your T-shirt, Run and Walk for Life, and help expectant mothers and babies along the way. And we thank them also for their work at Midwest Renewable Energy, LLC, in the East Central Plains of Nebraska. Ethanol, renewable fuels, energy for a strong America. It's lean, it's clean, and it's green. This is John Jacobson for Sean Revis saying, catch this podcast on KOFO.com. And in the meantime, until we see you again next week, be safe, be smart, be good, be strong. Love Jesus Christ. It's the 5th Sunday of Easter. And God bless us, everyone. Bye-bye.